Hey there, Angela. Welcome to a very special edition of our Explainer. I know you're 10 years old, incredibly curious, and probably figuring out cool new things about the world literally every single day. Well, today we're going to dive into this fascinating philosophical document called The Path of Reason. But don't worry, we aren't just going to sit here and read it like a boring textbook. We're actually going to use the clues inside it to build a map for a detective story. And honestly, the best part, the mystery we're solving today is exactly how your own brilliant mind works. So think about this for a second. Have you ever really thought about the word why? It's one of the very first words we learn to use, right? And once we start using it, we never really stop. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Well, it turns out this instinct you have to constantly ask why is actually your natural superpower. Our source material today maps out that exact instinct, and it shows us that asking questions isn't just some phase you go through. It's literally the engine of human logic. Okay, let's dive into this and see where that superpower actually begins. Let's kick off our investigation with the very first piece of the puzzle, the absolute magic of words. As our source points out, every word you use was already being spoken long before you were even born. You didn't invent them, but you use them every single day. Language isn't just a bunch of random sounds we make with our mouths. It's a powerful, almost magical tool that we use to physically grasp reality itself. Let's look at the first 3 steps from the text. Step 1, words carry meaning. When someone first taught you the word tree, your mind learned to reach beyond just the sound of the word to the actual real thing with leaves and bark out in your yard. Step 2, words point beyond themselves. The word fire isn't actual fire, it's a sign pointing to it. And step 3, meanings belong together. Words are never isolated. Think about it, the word teacher naturally points to a student. The word gift completely relies on a giver and a receiver. The text argues that as you learned language, you actually unlocked this giant interconnected web of clues. And that brings us right to our next phase, naturally following those clues. Once your brain recognizes that words and meanings are all connected in this giant web, it just naturally starts following those connections to solve logical puzzles. And here is the truly amazing thing, Angela. Your brain does this automatically without you even having to try. Let me show you exactly what I mean with a really cool Easter egg hidden in step 4 of our source text. Just think about this sentence for a second. Angela is Ryan's daughter. The exact moment you hear that sentence, your reason instantly deduces a totally unwritten clue. Ryan is your father. Nobody had to tell you that second part because it's already perfectly contained within the first one. Your reason naturally follows meaning exactly where it leads. But what happens when our words get it wrong? Imagine someone walks up to you and says, "Fire is cold." Well, reality flat out refuses to cooperate with that. Fire doesn't suddenly become cold just because we decided to rearrange our words. Reality is the ultimate boss. It corrects us. And that is exactly why the source document argues that truth simply means matching our words to reality. When they don't match up, well, reality stays exactly the same, and it's our understanding that has to change. Because reality is always constantly keeping us in check, we inevitably arrive at the big one, the ultimate why question. You see, your brain's natural reaction to experiencing reality is to zoom out and seek bigger and bigger explanations. Reason doesn't just stop with asking why birds fly or why people get sick. Once you start asking honestly, reality just invites you further down the rabbit hole. Everything we know exists, right? Books, trees, stars, you, me. The universe itself exists. According to steps 6 and 7 of the text, the largest reality we know, the whole entire universe, doesn't get a free pass. It cannot escape the question. Reason demands an explanation for why the entire universe exists at all. Which leads us to a really strict rule in our detective game, the concept of the unborrowed source. If you are looking for the absolute, ultimate explanation for why everything exists, you can't just keep borrowing answers forever. The text uses this wonderful analogy in step 8 to illustrate this. Imagine you have a really important question, and every single person you ask says, "Oh, I don't know, go ask someone else." No matter how many millions of people you ask, you never actually get an answer. In logic, an explanation that only borrows from another explanation never becomes a true explanation. Therefore, the text argues, reason must eventually arrive at a final source, a source whose existence isn't borrowed from anything else. And that brings us perfectly into step 9. According to the document, this unborrowed source is exactly what we mean by the word God.
In this philosophical framework, God isn't defined as just one more object bouncing around inside the universe, or even just the biggest thing among other things. Rather, God is defined as the unborrowed starting point of absolutely everything. It is the destination where your natural 10-year-old instinct to ask why, finally, wonderfully, comes to rest.
But hey, our detective story doesn't end with just cold, hard logic. Now we hit the final reveal. Your incredible superpower of reason takes you really, really far, all the way up to a specific door, actually. But something else entirely has to happen for that door to finally open. Step 10 uses this beautiful analogy. Picture yourself walking in the woods, and you find this gorgeously written letter. Because of your reason, you know for an absolute fact that someone wrote it. The letter couldn't have just written itself, right? By reading it, you might even guess a few things about the author. Maybe they're super kind or really smart. But as the text points out, human reason can only tell you the author exists. It takes revelation for the author to actually step out from behind the curtain and introduce himself personally to you. You can't just deduce a person, you have to meet them. And this brings us to the ultimate conclusion of the source material in step 11. The document states that Jesus came to bridge this exact gap. He didn't come to just prove that a creator exists. I mean, reason had already done the heavy lifting to bring humanity that far. Instead, Jesus came to make the Father personally known. The text really emphasizes that this final reveal doesn't replace your logic or your reason. It fulfills it. The whole journey of your mind began with human words pointing to reality, and according to this framework, it ends with the word, Jesus, revealing the author of reality.
Just look at the entire logical journey mapped out here, Angela. This is your big aha moment. From understanding that words carry meaning at the very beginning, to realizing realities connect, to asking why, to finding the unborrowed source, and finally, to the author revealing himself at the very end. You just successfully navigated 11 steps of really dense philosophical logic. It is such an amazing map of exactly how the human mind, and specifically your mind, searches for truth in this universe.
So, we wrap up our explainer today with this final thought. Your superpower of asking why and using reason is an absolutely incredible gift. According to our source today, reason leads us right up to the doorstep of the greatest mystery of all. The only question left is, are you ready to meet the author? Keep asking those big questions, Angela, and keep following the clues.